Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, Spence, let's trip out.
I'm afraid not every human is as smurfy as they should be, Sassy.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
Yeah, certainly. Here we are.
This pizza pie won't pass. Too many calories. Oh, the rest is okay. Natural light! Get it off me! Get it off me!
I don't know the meaning of the word chip.
Documented Geek Day.
And we are back once again with the Geek Den. It's Craig and Billy, and we are happy to be here with the Creepy Crawlers. Guys, where are you based out of?
Hey, we're out of Dayton, Ohio, the birthplace of aviation.
What is?
This is where the Area 51
Hangar 18.
buddies are being kept, supposedly.
Wright Patterson Air Force.
We just became semi-educational.
See?
This is it. This is the moment. This is
The
what we
more you know.
Ancient alien theorists believe
All right.
that there may be something behind this.
So Dayton, Ohio, getting started at horror influence. Really, you could probably talk about that for hours. That would be my guess, but
All of us probably have a different entry into that. I'm the old guy. Our band age range is from 20 to 50. This is my daughter. She's my bass player. She's 20. I'm 50. And these guys are in between that. And Scarica, who would be somewhere in here, she's in between that too. But for me, it started with the old school TV horror host stuff. So in Dayton, we had Shock Theater. Dr. Creep was the host. He was like our Zachary or whatever. And he played just crazy stuff Saturday night, late at night. And then Sunday, they would repeat it all. So as a little kid, like 3 and 4 years old, I was watching all of these great, 1940s through 70s horror movies on just regular TV back when we only had 3 channels and had to get up and change it. And so, but on his show, he would always have weird bands that would do creepy songs and stuff. And I was into the Monkees and stuff like that. And then Kiss happened. I'm of that generation that we saw Kiss, and there was nothing else like that existed before that moment. And they were melding all of the comic books and horror and music together. And I've just wanted to do that my entire life. And I kind of go back and forth in and out of it. Danny and I here, we're in a band called the Jackalopes that got our start in the late 90s with like Blitz Kid and the Independents and Calabrese and all of those kind of bands.
Awesome.
And we did that for a long time and kind of, I don't know if we got big, but we had some good luck. We got on some big comps. We were on the what was it called? The Prom Queen Massacre with Wednesday 13 and all of those people. Horror High put it out. And then like I did that for a long time. And then when I started having kids, I had a weird reaction to horror stuff and it started freaking me out. Like, what are they going to be demented from seeing all of my slasher movies or my Allen collection or whatever? Like, I'm going to warp their minds. So I kind of laid off of it and did other music for a while. And then when she got to be a teenager, she kind of came around and was like, Dad, what's up? Why are you such a wuss about horror? And I was like, oh, hold on, kid. And that just, hold on. Really. I showed her Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein, and she was frightened to death.
That was when I was a little kid.
She was
I was like a baby at that time.
But I think they just, rock and roll, you want it to kind of be a little dangerous. It should be hot or sexy or sharp or scary. And like, there's nothing better than the instant built-in aesthetic and vibe of, the colors black and red together and, spooky, Black Sabbath chords and Danzig vocals. Like that stuff's just fantastic flavors that go great together.
Texas Elvis, sad Elvis, angry Elvis.
Angry Elvis,
Zombie
that's
Elvis.
right.
Angry Elvis.
That's
Texas
right.
and sad Elvis have probably been taken elsewhere. I would guess.
So we have
Peter Steele.
we're friends with the band Frankenstein, and those guys kind of grew up in the same area as the Misfits, and so I love getting those guys to tell me Misfits poop. And they call Sal, the old guy in Electric Frankenstein, older guy, the older brother of the two brothers, always talks about Danzig. And he's like, well, I met him. His name was Arturo. He would come around with the comic books. And we were like, hey, Arturo. And he's like, don't fucking call me that anymore. My name's Glenn now. We'd be like, whatever, Arturo. So I call Glenn Danzig Arturo whenever I can.
It's fantastic. That painted a vivid enough picture that I've literally got images of people I've never met in my entire life. But like just don't call me that, call me Glenn. I could fucking see it. Just like talking about fucking Sting at some point, same thing. Like, what kind of balls did you have to go to your friends one day and be like, no, you call me Sting now, and everybody's like, okay, let's call your Sting.
Wait, dude, you see?
People are serious about that. When we were in the Jackalopes, we had a bass player. His name was George, and he wanted to be called Gigi. Geegee, so he wouldn't be confused with Gigi Allen.
Just in case.
And he's like, you guys have to really call me that. And we're like, okay, George. And he'd be like, no, you have to call me Gigi. He got mad. He got it tattooed on his forearm.
Help him,
And, it was a whole thing. So, but now I can't stop calling that. I don't know that he goes by that anymore. I don't know.
Well, then you would think that would be the end result anytime, wouldn't you?
What's that?
You'd think that'd be the end result anytime that like somebody you've known comes up to you and is like, my name is not what you've known your whole life. From now on, I enter like Puffle Farts or some shit.
Yeah.
And,
Call me Slash now. My name is now Slash.
Well, I figured he got away with it because of the hat.
Yeah, totally.
Hat
Yeah,
made
there's
it
something.
perfectly acceptable. Something.
I think you got to work to get other people to give you the name, maybe, or just hope that they give you the name.
That's a good question. Actually, okay, there you go. You gotta hope that somebody calls you a cool nickname and enough other people at the party notice it for you to be like, I like that. Let's do that.
Yep. Our guy here, Corey Ryherd, our guitar player, we call him Gory Corey, and he didn't choose that. We chose that because he's like a garbage pail kid. So he's Gory Corey, and
there are many things
totally legit because he didn't come up with it.
Yeah, it's true.
But you didn't come up with it though. You got stuck with a liner note that's going to describe you as gorecore, and that's nothing wrong with that.
That's pretty good.
That sounds like a really cool genre.
Right?
I'm sure necrophagia would be an influence on that genre.
Go about things. Just random nicknames getting stuck. I do wonder though, in relation to that, how many people we know by their stage names that only happened because somebody was in the right place at the right time when somebody just shouted a random nickname at them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, isn't that kind of like how Meatloaf got his name?
I think something like that. Yeah. Yeah. It was like a sort of derogatory thing, but he took it as
a positive spin.
Yeah, he put a positive spin and made it his name.
Millions.
Yeah, man. I'm sure it happens.
That's just cool.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely nickname yourself. Anyway, sorry. This happens a lot. Incidentally, it'll probably happen again. Anytime you're having a conversation that seems to be directed to a specific goal or point, it's going to go way the fuck off track.
Of course,
it will happen repeatedly, and it will be stupid. No, sorry.
Perfectly good.
But you guys, that was in the '90s. Jackalope.
We started like 98, 99 was the beginning. Yeah, it was the biggest section of it was sort of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in high school and I was a big fan.
All right. So
Yeah,
then this,
kind
was,
of-
so this was local.
play guitar for Chad. Because like I kind of always looked up to him and like, you know, like, like I started playing guitar when I was like 15 or 16, and you know, learning punk rock, you learn the Ramones and the Misfits, and it was for me, it was like the Ramones, Misfits, Black Flag, and then the Jackalopes. You know what I mean? Like because they were the local band, and like they were the local band, man. You know what I mean? Like they were.
It happened. I feel like that happened in a lot, especially let's go through the 90s, early 2000s. Every place I lived had a local band that was like they were the go-to for any national act coming through. They would 100% be the people that were either setting up other openers if it was going to be like a festival type situation, or setting people up with a place to stay, whatever the case may be. That whole idea of like, you know, you learn from the Ramones, or you know, fucking trying to, I don't know, mimic the Buzzcocks or some shit, going through on shit that you were doing.
Dio,
and there would always be that one local band where you were like, they're the same.
Yeah. Yeah. We came up in the era, like all of it. Well, there's a lot of our flyers behind us that you can't probably see in the thing, but
I can make out that they're there.
Yeah, it was like all the flyers say like Fat Records, recording artists, you know, grassroots recording artists, like all the big pop punk and horror punk and whatever labels that existed at the time. Yeah. Like we played with everybody from the Misfits to the Ataris to Nashville Pussy to
Turbo Negro.
Yeah, the Murder Junkies. Like we played with everybody, and it was exactly that. Wow. We had people in the band that like we came up pre-internet. So back then, if you wanted to contact bands in other towns, you either had to visit those towns or get into something like the Book Your Own Fucking Life magazine, which was put out by Maximum Rock and Roll. And it just had every person that was in an independent band in America, the genre they were, their phone number, whether they would allow you to sleep on their couch, where they could book you. And like we would just cold call people in other towns, and it's people that we they were our rock stars and stuff, but you could literally just call them up. Like I would have long conversations with Gigi Allen's brother Merle late at night on the phone, and like just weird, you know, the Lunachicks and anybody that existed back then. Like that's the only way we could do it. That was the network, and we were all playing like rental hall shows, Foresters Halls, VFWs, AMVETs. All that stuff. It was the Black Flag method, but the Jackalopes was kind of 3 or 4 guys that were all doing that independently in other bands. We all decided like, screw these other guys that are not putting in the work, booking shows or working to flyer. Like we're the lone guy in our band that's out flyering late at night when you had to do that with Wheat Paste. And so we all got together and decided to be the super band, and we immediately, you know, big shows on and brought big shows to town, and like we worked our way up from the, you know, just the small circuit. Like at first it was like Dayton, Ohio to Fort Wayne, Indiana and back on the regular, and then you would add, like we start doing Fort Wayne, and then we start doing Detroit, and then you start doing Erie, PA and Pittsburgh, and just all these weekenders. And we would go out, like we went out with the Misfits. We went out with Michael Graves when he first quit the Misfits. We went out with him a couple times. He was a different guy, both the big times we went out with him. He was a completely different human being at both ends of the spectrum. But like we would just do that. We were the tour support for whoever, and we had the connections in the other little towns to get ourselves on more than just our local opener slot. Like we would do the three in a row kind of opening, and then pass it off to the independents or to Blitz Kid, or you know, like you said, state by state there's, and city by city. In the big cities there's one band that's doing it.
They are the one. They're the people you want to contact. They are the people that are a center point for everything.
But you know, I don't want to sound too much like old man, but that was in the days where we could put out a 7-inch, do like, it'd be $300 to put out like 500 records. You know,
last deal I remember coming across that was worth anything at all was in like 2010, maybe. Those CD Warehouse did a thing where you could choose if you you wanted, you could choose to get a shitload of CDs printed, provided you chose to do it on CDR, which they'd be happy to label for you. They'd be happy to package. They'd be happy to fucking wrap. Which was cool. That was a great deal. It was. Well, I think we got 1,000 CDs for $1,000. So it was like $1,000 period, right? Yeah. Which, from our standpoint, we're selling them at shows. It made no difference to us. We were like, fuck, it's a CDR, but it looks pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we did when the Jackalopes. One of the big things back in the day was in the MySpace era. I don't know if you remember mp3.com. Like it was pre other streaming, and all of the bands would put their stuff on mp3.com, and it had the option to, you could like, just like Bandcamp, you could go through and just listen to the songs, or you could order a CDR just like that, and it was shrink wrapped, professional. It just had the mp3.com stamp on the back. And we packaged and repacked. We sold the same live album like 3 different times with 3 different covers, and nobody noticed.
Well, that's also, that's like subversively fucking brilliant. That's like, as far as just reselling the same shit over, like we did it with 2 albums. We just reordered the songs and added a new one, and we did it. This was, once again, this was like we weren't selling anything online. I think we had a MySpace page. We were only selling shit at shows, but we did have people that would come to see us at those shows, so they did buy the CD again, which got us to town, which was really all we were hoping for.
Were you guys operating in the time where you would do cassettes with like Xeroxed covers or anything?
We came about right after.
We
had originally we had the idea, because we had a rehearsal. This was out of Nashville. The band was called Cretan Grims. We had a setup in a storage facility that was like, it was literally a storage place, like any storage place you'll ever find, except for Nashville. So they billed themselves as a music, like not venue, but a place to go and record. They were like, it's soundproofed. You could do this, and they were actually pretty decently soundproofed. So we did the whole thing live mic'd and set up through a 4-track that was then run through a fucking computer using Cakewalk to fucking run everything down. Like it's the cheapest fucking way we could possibly do anything. We were like, all right, well, we can make cassettes, and then we suddenly realized that we existed at a time where nobody listened to them any longer. So
things that just disappeared from the.
There was no retro love for it yet, so it wasn't going to happen.
My first band, we rented the local 4 tracks were too expensive to buy, so we rented one. Like it was like it was $20 a day, but you had to put down $400 as a deposit or whatever. And we were
who the hell had to spare $400 fucking dollars?
My first band's first demo, we played a tattoo party. I'm a tattoo artist, and I was a kid tattooer then, and we played a tattoo party and got paid real money, and went and rented a 4-track and made a demo, and it's terrible. We had no idea how to do it at all.
The question is, though, do you look back on it and go, yeah, that sounds bad, but there were good ideas there?
Oh yeah, I actually, there's stuff I still do. Like we record everything ourselves. We don't go into studios. Like I've always been a little bit of a, like, not a gearhead, but like a figure out how to do it yourself guy. And like we still garage band for 90% of everything we're doing. But yeah, man, I love that stuff, like going back and listening to, like, you bounced a track so many times that like your original vocals pitched up or down, and the guitar's not in any kind of key that you can find with your other instruments. And when we did the Earth AD tribute recently for Horror Shock, we did Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight for the We Bite tribute, and we decided to go old school and record the drums on a 4-track and then put it into the computer and do everything else in the computer. Not quite.
That's on YouTube, isn't it?
And
yeah, I listened to that today. Like I was going through everything I could find on there. I thought it actually sounded really fucking good.
Thank you. So it sounded rad, but we found that the tapes that I had bought with that 4-track in 1997 had aged drastically and had stretched with time. So as we put it into the program to do the guitars and stuff, and I'm like, it's speeding up and slowing down. And I finally figured out that it was the tape. So we couldn't do anything about it. I had to go in and digitally splice it, and just like it was MIDI samples almost, but it's really damn through the 4-track, and we get the sound of the tape. But I had to spend 10.5 hours figuring it out once we had it
Do you guys
In
remember
the-
reading about ADAT tapes? I think they were called ADAT tapes, but
Oh yeah, I recorded on ADATs in.
that was supposed to be the wave of the future for recording. The whole idea was
Yeah, they're big VHS tapes. They recorded
and they
like
sounded
VHS.
better than any CD could possibly sound. Like they really did. They picked up everything. They still sounded as warm as a record, but as clear as a CD.
Yeah.
Which was
A lot of the stuff in the like grunge era is recorded on ADAT, like Nirvana stuff and Soundgarden stuff, and that was the new shit back then.
Huh.
My first band COH did a bunch. I have all the ADAT still and nothing to the masters,
right,
and nothing. But then so back then you would record on the ADAT, and there wasn't a computer really in the studio. You recorded on the ADAT, and then they would bounce that down to a DAT for you.
Right.
That DAT, which is the small, like, looks like a small videotape. You send that off to get made into a CD or whatever. Or they could make you a cassette to listen to in your car or whatever to reference stuff. Or you could spend $20 and they would send a DAT to a guy somewhere in another state who would send you a CDR of your stuff. Like it was the studio thing back in that time, like the early 90s, late 80s.
That may have been all the way up into the 2000s. It happened to us. Something
Yeah.
Except we ended up back with a guy who recorded us, mixed our CD down for us as well. But he was like, "Here's the thing, I'm not going to be able to do the finals on this."
Right.
So here's all the parts, and I ended up with 2 spools of 100 stack CDs that he had separated. This was not great. This was another band at the time. But the point is, he was like, "Here, this will help you," and I was like, "This will not help me. I don't know what this is."
Oh my goodness.
I am a drummer. I didn't even know I was supposed to mic my shit. Why did you do this?
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Yeah,
I mean, it was
a different time. Those were the days.
Yeah, it's weird how it's like it was a pain in the ass at the time, and now I miss them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this was another moment where we went off track, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Creep Crawlers in just a minute.
You work so hard, now have some fun and yum it up with a new kind of bubble yum. Lemon and lime at the same time, 2 flavors in one. Strawberry and banana combined in one bubble yum. You're working hard, now have some fun. Yum it up with bubble yum bubble gum. I love to yum it up.
2 flavors in one, new luscious lime and banana berry split.
Yum it up with bubble yum.
Sometimes people take for granted about the best things ever planted, but they should be enchanted, should appreciate their trees.
Trees, Carly's Arbor Day Foundation spreads the word across the nation about trees.
Trees are terrific.
And we're back.
Oh.
There they are. All right. When we left off, we weren't talking about anything important, so you guys have the floor, please. What's been going
Well, we just found out that Billy Bones is 33 years old, and I wonder if he's worried because that's supposed to be the age Jesus was when he died. I lived my entire 33rd year for some reason, worried that I was going to die that year. Not that I consider myself Jesus, but because that was a valid number.
Well, once since I, being a musician, once I passed 27, I kind of was like, okay, we're good. We're good.
I was like, when I made it in the 20s, I was like, oh, cool.
I had a weird thing about 33 because of Jesus, and I read a book about Sting. You mentioned Sting earlier, and it was a big deal. Like he didn't make it until he was 33. And like he was the one that was like the proof that an old guy could like,
oh good God, really?
It or whatever. So I was like, if I don't make it by 33, I'm freaking out, because even Sting was Sting genetics, 33 was pushing it. So
I don't know about that. I am curious about it. I mean, I've got a lot of kids that I grew up with in Atlanta that they were all musicians. They all played, and they all still play now. I mean, they're coming up on their 50s now. They've been playing their whole lives. They still do. I mean, one of my closer friends still has punk bands that he goes out with all the time. They do little weekend shows, and then he goes home. They never get paid for shit. He maybe gets paid in drink tickets, essentially. But he doesn't care. That's his thing. That's the only thing he actually wants to do. All week long, he builds decks.
It's in your blood. Yeah. You live your life in service of doing this, like once it's in your blood, like hopefully you find a day job that will let you have whatever hair and clothes you have for your band.
At least that shit is lightened up. You mentioned earlier being a tattooer, like it is literally, at least that shit is finally lightened up.
Yeah.
Most of, if not corporate America, at least most of working class America has gotten the hint at this point.
Yeah.
Put a long sleeve shirt on or just ignore it.
Yeah.
Just fucking ignore it because nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's a fucking, just leave it alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's weird. It's wild. I've been doing it for 30 years, so I've seen so many ebbs and flows of it, the tattooing and punk rock for that matter. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the idea of horror punk, by the way, talked to Billy about this on a couple of occasions, was relatively new to me.
Yeah.
For me, when I was growing up, there was metal, then there was punk rock, and then there was everything else.
Right.
Right. So that's how I looked at it. That's all there was to it. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that at the time, as I think you mentioned earlier, like there was no internet. There were zines. There were local, like what people were putting out locally. But most of the time, if I found a new band, it was because I went to a show and there was an opener that happened to be touring with them, or it's because I recognized the record label and I went and bought it just because it was that record label and I assumed it would be good.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's on Alternative Tentacles, I'm buying it. If it's on
Exactly. It was metal. For me, it was Metal Edge. Anything on Metal Edge, I was like, fuck it, let's go.
Megaforce. Megaforce Combat. Like, yeah. Give me all of that.
There was just in this entire run of that shit where I ended up finding a whole bunch of new, or to me, what were new bands, but apparently internationally new. But the thing is, what's weird to me is that the idea of horror punk, right? Because you can mention the Misfits in it with horror punk. You could say that, but I didn't consider them that. I just considered them that band that people were chronically forcing on me.
So this is the exact same conversation as is Black Sabbath the first heavy metal band, and yes, of course they are, but also no, they're not. They identify as a blues band.
Did they precede Iron Butterfly?
They didn't. Well, but they didn't. The thing I would say is they didn't identify as heavy metal. Heavy metal didn't.
Yeah, that's fair.
They were blues. They didn't know. They were adding darker elements and accidentally with Iron Butterfly, Led Zeppelin, etc. accidentally invented what we called heavy metal. But no band identifies as heavy metal until Judas Priest, which is a handful of years later. So the Misfits didn't go around and say we're horror punk. The Misfits were just punk. That their particular brand happened to be that we have.
After you would say that they were kind of relegated to it afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I think that the term came to prominence when my band started using it way back in the day, and Blitzkid and those bands, because we were in a sea of when the Misfits were happening, there were 200 punk bands in the nation, maybe. You know what I mean? When I started playing punk rock, there's suddenly 2,000 and then 20,000 and then
probably in your tri-state area too. That's the thing about that.
Yeah,
everywhere.
And so that's when you get terms like horror punk or emo or screamo or this or that or the other, bands that were Fugazi gets called emo, but Fugazi didn't identify as emo. Fugazi was hardcore.
Do they?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fugazi gets lumped into fucking really?
Fugazi is credited with being other than Rites of Spring, they're the first emo band. Rites of Spring's #1 because they actually put it on their flyers. But Rites of Spring is Guy from Fugazi before he's in Fugazi.
Yeah.
So Fugazi is they're essentially, but that bears no resemblance to my daughter's favorite bands, My Chemical Romance and things like that.
I will give you My Chemical Romance.
They slay.
I'm gonna say
they're so good.
They're not a typical emo band either.
I didn't give them a chance until she forced it on me, and I absolutely they're one
Gerard
of us.
Butler created the fucking Umbrella Academy, and I'm not talking about the show on Netflix. Just read the comic book. It's fucking.
No, I've read the comics.
It's great.
Yeah.
It is a great comic.
I am committed.
Just for that matter, even going
I think she has a necklace on right now.
I got Gerard Way on my necklace.
Yeah, I would never wear them on jewelry, but I do respect what they did. I will say they owe Pink Floyd a lot for that last album, though.
Right?
Yeah.
That entire album is literally their version of The Wall.
Well, a lot of bands do that. Marilyn Manson's Antichrist Superstar is The Wall, 100%, top to bottom.
Here's the
Turns
question.
into a fascist dictator and everything.
Well, all right, okay. So if you were like the rock opera approach to music, like the big rock opera approach, like if the Who's Tommy, or for that matter, Pink Floyd's Paul, that was mostly because of like Roger Waters being a douche. But let's them doing that shit, right?
Yeah.
Why hasn't anything like that happened since, with the exception of Marilyn Manson, who really was kind of set up to be that guy?
There was a big movement in metal in the 80s. Queensryche did it, a band called Sabbath did it, King Diamond did it on every single album. There were bands that definitely had like story albums and rock.
Well, right. Now, I'm saying the rock opera thing, but I'm saying since in the actual tours with the fucking sets and the whole idea, with the exception of Guar, who it's
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. It's absolutely well, My Chemical Romance.
Yeah,
but
the
that's
Black Parade.
2000.
Yeah, that was 2006.
2006 was probably the last big rock opera.
18 years ago was the last real time that somebody was like telling a story. There's a start and a finish.
We should do a Deftones, Creepy Crawlers rock opera team up album
in which two Grims fight each other for dominance.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the premise of the rock opera.
Fight over the name.
The Battle of the Grims.
I
like it a lot.
Like a bizarro Mr. Grimm, you know what I mean?
At the end, you find out they're actually the same person. They're just fighting over a history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some time travel elements. Yeah, we can do some stuff here.
The entire thing could be a revamped Cloud Atlas. If fucking My Chemical Romance could redo the wall, you guys redo the Cloud Atlas fucking story, which is fucking terrible. So it needs to be redone. Do that.
Heck yeah.
This is another one of those moments. Please pull it back.
It's weird to watch, like, although, you know what, on Horror Shock Records, Rise From Your Grave from Pittsburgh, like, their stuff is really close to that vibe. They're doing a little bit of, like, rock opera stuff in their thing. It's not full albums yet. Boogeyman out of Arizona. They've got an album that's got like a book that accompanies it, and they've got a whole story, but no stage show, none of that thing. But
I mean, Alice Cooper's still doing it. But
every Alice
Cooper's always been that guy though, and like any show was its own individual story. Like it didn't have to be an overall. It could have just been Alice Cooper showed up and being like, "We have a reason to chop a head off."
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Oh man, isn't that like?
You got that thing.
Oh yeah, that Coheed and Cambria. I don't listen to them, so I think that's their thing.
Coheed
it's probably a place where I'm not cool enough to know about it.
I'm not a big Coheed and Cambria person. It's not. I respect them, but I don't like them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah,
that's for like Rush and Tool.
Right.
Yeah, there's a like you respect what you
and Fish as well. I can't stand it, but.
You respect it. There's a level of musicianship you cannot get past in it. Like they're good at what they do. Coheed and Cambria, their lead singer, who I honestly think sounds like somebody stepping on his fucking testicles. And that's just how he sings. There's a lot of fucking bravado. There's a lot of higher end on it. Wrote a graphic novel called Kill Audio. The entire thing is about genres of music being distilled into specific categories as opposed to being allowed to cluster together and expand people's idea of what that genre is.
Right.
So it was, if you get bored randomly, graphic novel, Kill Audio, go read it. If you're a musician, you're gonna appreciate every moment of it.
For sure.
Oh, right on.
That's
brother.
awesome.
Thanks.
Oh,
I'll check that out.
That's all I know about Coheed and Cambria too, other than the unicorns.
Right. It shakes his hair, and I'm like, I'm mad. I'm like, Buzz Osborne's already doing.
I do like I say, I don't have any hair of my own. I like his.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right.
Jumping back real quick into rock operas, how we were saying that they're really not around anymore. It's not really horror themed or anything like that, but I just remembered it. Tommy Space and the Alchemists, who were on this show quite a while ago, they released something in 2021, the Carousel Cabaret. That is a rock opera as well.
Oh, that is a great name too.
Yeah. Check it out.
That's a great name.
Oh crap! At Green Day. Green Day does that.
Green Day.
Isn't American Idiot that?
Yeah, but that came.
That was
out
01.
2004.
Was that long ago?
Yeah.
So, I'm like, those new boys, those young kids into Green Day have an album.
No, I get that. I do that like the newest band that I listen to. That I'm like, the new guys get dead. That's the newest band that I listen to. You know.
Oh man, I call people kids who are like 40. Yeah. There's so many bands that were like young underling sort of bands when I was coming up that got way bigger than us, and I still like call them kids and like, they don't know what they're doing. They're kids.
Okay, so when I was younger, when I first started getting any type of punk rock, is because my sister's boyfriend had some CDs he didn't like. They were CDs that his friends gave to. He was a hippie kid, wasn't in that he was listening to, or that he was given, because his friends they kind of went a different route as they grew up. They were all skaters at the time.
Sure.
So he ends up with a Subhumans album, 2929 Split Vision, and
Nice.
Operation Ivy, the Unity LP, right?
Nice.
And so he ends up giving it to me because he had no interest. I listened to him. I'm like, well, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, I was like fucking 11, 12, something like that. I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. Suddenly I go back through all of it. So when back to the Green Day rock opera, this does lead back in, I promise.
No problem.
The whole idea of like the rock opera thing, I get it. I understand the idea of being like the new guys, because literally I still look at NoFX as the fucking new guys.
Oh, I know.
Like it just me when people are like, there's 20 albums. There's no album past Pump Up the Volume to me. There is nothing else past that.
Yeah.
That was the last NoFX album to me. But there's like eight or nine more.
Yeah.
Probably.
Are there more than that?
I don't know.
There might be. Yeah. Plus all of the different side things, and yeah. Man.
I mean, first of the Gimme Gimmes, like the first time I ever heard them was that fucking Country Roads cover on the Fat Con.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's like, holy shit, that's fucking wonderful. Got that album, and I was like, well, they're done. Never got another one.
Yeah. Did you, when you got into punk rock, did you have like a prejudice of what punk rock was? Did you know what it was, or did you have
I couldn't define it. I couldn't define it. My definition came down to anything that was played fast with anger.
Right. That makes sense.
Like that is the only thing that made sense to me. So like there were so many bands, like for take for example, I don't know, coming across Bad Religion after starting off with Subhumans, right?
Right.
It wasn't the same, but I recognized it as the same thing because it was still played fast.
Yeah.
And there was still anger involved.
Yeah.
And also when Green Day popped up, when like Dookie came out, it was this huge fucking hit.
Yeah.
The first time I heard it, I was like, hey, it's not exactly the same, because it was what is later defined as a subgenre, skate punk or new pop like fucking which to me would have been skate punk at the time.
Right.
It wouldn't have been pop punk. It just would have been skate punk.
Yeah.
Like it was skate punk, right?
Yeah.
That pops up and I'm like, yeah, but it's still fast and angry.
Right.
And that was my like
you could
you
could sense the energy similarity between all of
Yeah, and it was always the same kids too. Like, we would go to the shows and it was the same kids. They were maybe dressed a little bit different, but it was the greatest thing in the world to me that you could show up in any place in the United States, probably the world, look out into a crowd of people and be like, that's a dude I could hang out with.
Yeah. Well, I think back to what we were talking about like the genre kind of split, like of horror punk. Like it was just punk. You were punk or alternative or whatever. And then one day we all started making delineations when you've got like, you say it's a punk show, but you show up and it's straight edge hardcore bands. And that's not the show for you if you want to go to a Subhumans or Crass type of a band show. And that's not the type of show for you if you want to go see a pop punk, like sweater wearing Weezer band show. So like we all started to like delineate, we are this core from this town. Like for us, it was describing where we were from was almost as important as delineating the genre too, because horror punk from New York was not horror punk from LA, was not horror punk from the Midwest. So I think that's where delineations come in.
Well, you were like the idea, you actually specifically name dropped one genre that I hold responsible for that. And that is fucking hardcore shit, the straight edge hardcore shit, which bearing in mind, there's actually several straight edge bands I really enjoy. Like they are angry as hell and
which one?
Fascinating.
Integrity, Earth Crisis.
I was just listening to Earth Crisis, man.
They're fucking like Throwdown.
From the Throwdowns.
Yeah, fucking wonderful.
I lived
All Out War is an incredible fucking band. They were fucking amazing.
Dayton, Ohio was one of the towns that got straight edge classified as a gang by the federal law. We had a crew, and they were like murdering people for smoking cigarettes and shit. Like it was crazy.
Which is where I was gonna. That's the thing that I was going to. What I think went wrong, or not went wrong. It became it like you were saying, like the crowds, the people showing up to the music, sort of defined what the genre was, right?
Yeah.
So 100% true. Like when I was growing up, that wasn't the case. A punk show was a punk show. You were lucky to get one in your town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? go to the venue, watch whoever shows up, and everybody's thrilled.
100%.
But you were right. There became this whole like weird split, and I feel like most of it came down due to the fucking violence.
Yeah. Yeah,
it
if
came out
you
hard.
liked horror movies and wore eyeliner, and you showed up for a throwdown show, you were going to get thrown down.
Somebody was going to fucking, you were going to catch some brass knuckles at the side of the head.
Yeah, dude, you rolled in with some, pantyhose on your arms and some black thing until Davey Havoc from AFI, and then suddenly we're all.
And then suddenly it's fine.
You know what I mean? Like you can dress like Catwoman in hardcore and be straight edge now. Like this is great.
Which was like no, actually, okay. So you had AFI. You could have acknowledged like AFI's earlier albums, like their first 2 albums, 100% fucking hardcore. Yeah, straight up hardcore. They were punk leaning hardcore albums, but they were hardcore. Albums.
Yeah.
After that, when they started, I mean, when Davey Havoc's wandering around Warped Tour, for example, with his parasol,
right,
in black and makeup and shit like that. First off, way to go, that guy. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Secondly, as far as doing that goes, there was an entire moment wherein all of the people that were super angry about what they were listening to and protective and gatekeeping over their scenes were like, well, that's Davey Havoc though.
Yeah.
Like he's doing it. We could stop being dicks, right? Can we stop being dicks?
Yeah.
Stop being dicks. And then they did like it became a little more inclusive.
You were able, well, those kids that they were bringing together hardcore and emo and goth and all of that kind of stuff, and they made it kind of, they made it a little bit more of a safe space, I guess, you know what I mean? But it's also, that's, I always thought of Davey and those guys, or like Dwid from Integrity. Like Integrity is the most hard-edged, militant, straight-edge band on the planet. And then Dwid shows up at a show with a X drawn on his head, tripping on acid, drinking beer and smoking a joint. That's the guy. When I was in a pit, when I was in a kid and it's a big circle pit and you're going, my favorite thing is to suddenly throw myself in reverse of the pit and try and crush and destroy these people going this direction. And they're going to try and crush and destroy you. And if I fall, they'll pick me up or whatever. But it was like, I'm there to fuck up the flow. And so like Davey and people like that came out to fuck up the flow. Like, or even in like alternative music band like Faith No More. Faith No More came out. They're like a funk rock band. Everybody's like, okay, that's the Chili Peppers.
Yeah,
the next album's not that at all. And then the next album's not that at all.
Nope.
It's a way, like I like bands who throw shit in reverse on you and show up with like the hardcore dude is now in a dress. What do you do? Like the best thing in the world to me. That's the best thing in the world to me.
It's funny as shit. If there's like, wait, I can't wear my Scally cap anymore?
Yeah, right. Like here all with my Mickey's Big Mouth and my Irish whatever. Yeah,
I'm really this fucking members only jacket for 3 days waiting for this fucking show, and you're wearing a dress.
Yeah. I didn't like AFI until I saw him open for Danzig on the Sam Hain reunion tour, and that dude came out dressed as Catwoman, and they ripped so hard that they blew both of Danzig's bands off the stage. And I'm a very, very big Danzig fan. Even at his worst, I will fucking support that little guy.
I like that little
Arturo, I love you, bro.
That little guy.
But like, that was it. I was like, this kid's in, like, he's got eye makeup on like Kat Von D, dude. Like he is to the nine.
On him too.
But then outside after the show, he was in a hoodie like a hardcore kid. Like he was doing that on stage, and then he was a regular ass kid outside.
Well, you figure the roots don't change. I mean, they don't, regardless of anything else. We're going to go one more time. We're going to come back for a very, very brief period so you guys can plug whatever you have coming up. So
all right.
Take a moment, think about what that's going to be, and we'll be back in just a second, all right?
They're doing push-ups in Peoria. They're jogging in L.A. They're exercising everything in lots of crazy ways. What, take it from the chopper? Hey, the chopper, yeah, that's me. If you want to have great choppers, exercise your teeth. Exercise those choppers, really chew, chew, chew. Exercise those choppers on some good hard food. Your molars grind, your canines tear, incisors bite right through. So exercise those choppers on some good hard food. Pumpernickel, carrot sticks, crunchy fruits and nuts. things you really have to chew will make your choppers tough. So take it from the chopper, 'cause choppers know it's true. Exercise is great, but exercise your choppers too. Hey, chopper, how about running a few laps with us? Hey, later, man. I'm eating a celery stick. This is hard exercise.
Monstrously delicious cereal, Frankenberry.
It's strawberry flavored.
With tasty marshmallows.
A strawberry treasure.
Hit the deck, Frankenblubber, and full speed ahead for my Count Chocula.
Aye, Count. I salute your delicious chocolatey flavored cereal.
With tasty marshmallows. Frankenberry, Count Chocula.
Aye, por favor.
You can enjoy this good, nutritious breakfast with
Count Chocula. Frankenberry.
All right, and we are back for the last time with the Creepy Crawlers, and this is what they have coming up.
We've got several shows coming up. We've got a big one in Pennsylvania with Rise from Your Grave next month for their record release party in Greensburg. We've got one in August in Dayton in our area with House Ghost and Batthorn and another band to be announced. We're working on other shows. We've got a lot of stuff online. We do a lot of videos. Look for us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. I can never remember actual URLs, but we're the Creepy Crawlers, not the Creepy Crawlies. And if you see stuff that looks like, the band Wasp mixed with Charles Manson, mixed with the Misfits, that's probably us. And but yeah, we've got 2 EPs, a live album, 2 live DVDs, T-shirts. We've got lighters, we've got bracelets. What else do we have? We have necklaces, we have stickers, we have all kinds of stuff. So, we come from the same place as Kiss and the Misfits. So just think merch is just as important as songwriting.
Yeah, it should be. That's how you get to the next town.
Yeah, that is 100%. 100%. Yeah, you write songs hoping that one day it'll get used in a movie or some band like Metallica will cover it or something and, make something happen for your career. But in the meantime, you're in the T-shirt business in rock and roll.
I mean, a nice logo.
Yeah, good logo goes a long way. So, yeah, we're the Creepy Crawlers. Come see us. We're coming to your town. We like to party down.
Oh, that's great. You could throw that into a Slappy Seconds thing.
Yes,
guys. Thank you.
That's a band near our neck of the woods, as a matter of fact.
Oh, still going too. By the way, when we were on the break, I was talking about bands I'd seen that they were better live. Slappy Seconds is one of those. They are way better live. I don't know why. They're great recorded, but live, there's just something about it, man.
Yep.
Fucking
New Bomb Turks, similar. Yeah. Super Sucker.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I haven't thought about them in forever.
Yeah.
This is we might end up on a tangent. We're not gonna end up on a tangent. Billy, I know you gotta do your double tomorrow. Stay. All right. So guys, thank you so much for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure. I hope that we get to see you again. I'm assuming any upcoming recordings, anytime you guys, even if you do another video and you release it, if you guys want to come on, get in touch with one of us.
For sure.
This was a fun conversation.
We'd love to. Dan probably wants to talk more too.
Giving me up. I'm all about it, man. This is not even his fault. It's because he's back there.
Yeah.
This is not his fault. That and he also has to fight.
Never. Always the drummer's fault.
You also have to fight Mr. So there's a battle that must occur eventually. There's an entire fight in rock opera that must happen.
I think so.
This fight, this battle.
Ooh. You got to tell him about that. By the way, you have to tell him about that, dude. You are now involved in a fucking blood vendetta you know nothing about. Oh, he's been working out too, though. So
yeah, we gotta come up with a good comic book kind of slogan for it or something. Yeah,
I'll be happy to draw the cover.
Okay.
This was a lot of fun, guys. I really do look forward to talking to you again.
You guys rule. Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are what makes the scene awesome. You guys are real fucking guys, and
we thank the pandemic for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now we got egos.
Yeah.
It's not that. This is a videoed version of the conversations that used to occur in between sets outside of venues. That's all this is.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. Like it is. That is the whole purpose behind this. Drink a beer in the alley. Wait for the next band to come on.
Perfect.
So, again, behalf of myself, Billy, Craig, and the Creepy Crawlers, thank you so much. We will see you again.
Thanks, guys.
You guys.